Hello, I'm Thane Maynard, and welcome to Animals in Action. Today, Keith Shackleton and I will be looking at a very important part of many animals, their legs and feet. And here in the studio to help us in our investigations is an animal that seems to be nothing but legs and feet. It's a spider monkey from Brazil and Peru. And as we'll see later on in the show, he's just about perfectly adapted for his life in the tropical rainforest canopy. Some animals use their legs and feet to find their food. Some others use their legs and feet to run away so they won't become food for others. So let's start by looking at both, the predators and the prey. A South African oryx running for its life, and another prey animal, a zebra, flat out. And here's a good example of a predator. In fact, the fastest predator on 4 legs. It's a cheetah. It's just a little bit faster than the Thompson's gazelle it's running down. The cheetah's able to follow the gazelles every turn. Let's take another look to see if we can see the action more clearly. The cheetah closes in on the gazelle, just close enough to be able to trip it with its front paw as they vanish into a cloud of dust. One of the things that's always fascinated me is the similarity of anatomy throughout the animal world, particularly the way you can trace the same muscles and bone structure from one living thing to another. I think that might be particularly interesting in the case of legs and feet. Keith, care to give it a try with your charcoal?
Yeah, let's try, Thane, starting right at the beginning with the most primitive animal with a skeleton, a fish. Well, here we've got a fish. And it's the fins we want to consider. Just take the pectoral fins. Now, fish's fins are quite subtle things. They have these rays in them so that they can be fanned out and shortened just however the fish wants it to make it the best limb for trimming itself in the water. But there are fish that have got specialized fins that work like legs, some of the gurnards. They have little fins that enable them to walk about on the bottom. There are other fish, some of the very primitive ones even, like the coelacanth, where this fin here is on a little bit of a stalk. So it's even more like a leg. Lungfish are the same. So we're beginning to get somewhere near legs. Now let's just take it a stage further and have a look at an amphibian that's in and out of the water. Take, say, a frog or a toad. The forelimb here is beginning to look a little bit like ours because it's got digits on the end. And some of these are in the water so much that they've got webs and added swimming aid there. An animal like a crocodile, and Thane's going to explain much more about that now, or a true reptile, has got this bend in the limbs. And again, digits with claws on the end. Now, the dinosaurs, of course, were reptiles, and the dinosaurs were the ancestors of our birds. Now, I wonder if you can recognize this set of bones. We've got a bone coming down here. We've got 2 bones going up there. And we've got a whole host of little tiny bones at the end. And that is the wing of a bird. And these little tiny bones here, which would correspond to our fingers, are supporting this beautiful fan shape of flight feathers. Now, have a look at this one. Here's a puzzle set of bones for you. A little thumb turning back, and fingers of enormous length, very lightly made, very, very long. Finger bones. but the difference is that these are connected with a membrane. It's a bat, and they're even connected to the back limbs down here and on to the tail. But we're now into the field of mammals, and you know what that means. Lions, bears, your own cat, those flat pads. Think of a horse's hoof in one piece, the split hoof of something like an antelope, and then think of you and me and Thane with our digits, our fingers and thumbs.
So from fish to people, you can trace the same bone structure and the same musculature. Let's go back and take a look at the fish. Here's a trout. The important fins are the pectoral and pelvic fins. One pair at the front, the other at the back, very much like a four-legged animal. This is an African lungfish, an air-breathing fish about 2 feet long. Its two pairs of fins are modified into long, thin appendages, which it uses to cross from one pond to another. Its lungs enable it to spend long periods out of the water. The early amphibians developed from fish that spent more and more time on land. This is a newt, a small amphibian that looks superficially like its prehistoric ancestors, although it's much smaller. But the limbs are important here. Simple legs with joints and digits, the next step up from those modified fins. Like the lungfish, the newt breathes air, but it does have an aquatic larval stage, and so it is still dependent on water. On land, its legs are very weak. In contrast, here's an animal that can move very quickly when it has to. It's a savanna monitor from Africa. The monitors are the largest lizards around today. This species reaches 5 or 6 feet in length, but they're tiny compared to some of the lizards that once roamed the earth. It's feeding here on giant millipedes, another good example of legs, over 100 of them. They sometimes call these Tanganyika trains in Africa. The first thing that strikes you when you look at the monitor is the size of the muscles in the legs compared to the newt. These are the legs of a land animal, and they can lift the monitor clear off the ground so it doesn't have to slither along on its belly like the newt did. But the design of the limbs is still a little primitive. It means that the monitor is constantly in a push-up position while walking. When it's inactive, it can relax and lie on the ground. Its legs also come in useful for digging and tearing up its prey. The way lizards are built, they're always putting a lot of extra strain on their upper arms, kind of like this. In fact, even the alligators and crocodiles have their legs out from the side of their body and have to have very strong legs to hold themselves up. But those specialized reptiles, called dinosaurs, developed a different bone structure, so they could stand this way, with their legs underneath their body, and that made them much stronger. And it was this difference which allowed the dinosaurs to get so much bigger than modern-day reptiles. But now let's look at the dinosaurs' direct descendants, the birds. Well, you could say that the dinosaurs are alive and well, but most of them are covered with feathers. This rook is a good example. It's a member of the perching group of birds, like the sparrows, finches, and starlings. Their feet are designed simply for keeping a tight grip on branches. But here's a bird whose feet, although similar to the rook's, are modified for a very special purpose. This is an African fish eagle, and its feet are designed for hunting. And once the fish is caught, there's little chance of escape. Let's look at the legs. The long section that we think of as thighs are really the eagle's calves, and what look like knees are in fact his ankles. In comes the fish eagle for the fish. Look closely at the legs at the moment of impact. It uses the back claws to impale the fish, latches on with the front claws, and then carries off the huge fish. It'll fly off to a nearby tree, hold the fish down with its feet, and tear at it with its beak. Here's another bird that spends its life around the water, but when it comes to food, is less ambitious than the fish eagle. It's a jacana, or lily trotter, looking for small insects among the water weeds. It gets its name from its habit of walking over the surface of the lily pads. It doesn't sink through them because it has these enormous feet, which help to spread the weight of the jacana over a much bigger area. It's the same sort of principle that we use when we wear snowshoes to cross a snowfield. These coots also have enormous feet. They're sort of halfway between the jacana's splayed-out feet and webbed feet. It has long toes, but each one bears large flaps of skin to help the coot swim. Well, it's obvious just looking at these feet that they must belong to a very strange bird. They do. They're ostrich feet. It's the biggest of all living birds, and it's lost the power of flight and taken up running instead. The overall shape of the ostrich is the nearest thing around to those original running dinosaurs that lived hundreds of millions of years ago.
Have you ever wondered how these perching birds, like this little spotted flycatcher up here, can roost all night on a branch and not fall off? Well, it's an interesting bit of mechanics, and I'll show you. Now, if you imagine you can see through the feathers of a perching bird, and here it is, standing up this time. Now, that part's all out of sight, but we're getting now down to the knobbly bit you think of as the knee, but it's really the ankle. Then the tarsus of the leg comes like that, and then you've got 3 toes sticking forward and one big strong one that sticks back. Now, if it wants to perch, here's the end of the branch. It wraps these front toes round like that and the back one round like that. But the next thing it does is to bend its knees so that the angle comes like that. You've got a knee there then. And all this is flattened down, and the breast itself is also resting on the branch. And there it sits. Now, the action of bending the knees locks the tendons so that those claws are there for the whole night. And all it has to do when it wants to get up and hunt in the morning is stretch its legs and go.
Here's a familiar foot.
On your mark. Set.
Where we have the advantage over the other animals is in our choice of footwear. Some of these kids are wearing spiked shoes to give them a better grip on the slippery grass. Those wearing smooth-soled shoes are at a clear disadvantage. We can wear shoes to meet every occasion. Ribbed boots for climbing, fins for swimming, waterproof boots for wading. We can do a little bit of everything. It's just a question of degree and the equipment you've got. The one thing we would find hard to do, though, is to wear springs on our feet to help us jump. But the kangaroo can jump without the aid of springs. Massive two-legged bounds through the Australian bush. We can jump to a small extent, but our legs really aren't designed for that. The kangaroo can't put one hind leg in front of the other. They only work together, but they're perfectly designed for the job. It has long lower legs, very strong elastic tendons, huge thigh muscles, and of course, that very important balancing tail. This is an echidna, another native of Australia. It's an insectivorous mammal that specializes in eating termites. It's sometimes called the spiny anteater, and it certainly is very spiny. Now, the echidna's front feet are modified for a very special purpose, digging. It has large, strong claws for breaking open termite mounds and digging in the hard soil. Its hind feet are modified for a very special purpose. Echidnas are covered in fleas, and clearly those spines make it nearly impossible to scratch the fleas off. But the echidna can. It has an elongated claw on each hind foot that acts a little like a toothpick, reaching down through the spines to reach the offending fleas. Echidnas have another remarkable feature for a mammal. Their young hatch out from eggs. And it shares this characteristic with only one other mammal, another Australian, the duck-billed platypus. Now, the platypus has webbed feet because it spends most of its time in the water. But that's not the reason why we're looking at this one. The male platypus has a large poisonous spur on each hind leg that can inflict a very painful wound on a predator or another male platypus, so they have to be handled with great care. But we haven't yet looked closely at a standard four-legged running animal, and what better example than a zebra? Well balanced, all four legs being about the same size and strength, and each bearing an equal amount of weight. It's really just a striped horse, and it has the same gait as a horse. A walk, a trot, a canter, and a gallop. It's really designed for speed. Obviously not for catching prey because it's a vegetarian, but speed to escape from this, a predator, the lion. Well, the overall design of the two animals is much the same, but there the similarity ends. For instance, take a look at its foot. It's really just an oversized version of our own domestic cat's foot. It has retractable claws that are lethally sharp and powerful. Once inside their sheath, the lion can run without the claws getting in the way. The lion's feet are big and flat and covered in pads. The pads muffle the sounds the paws make and allow the lion to quietly sneak up on its prey undetected before it pounces. They're relaxing now, but when hunger calls, they'll have to make full use of those feet and claws. The zebras are always on the alert, and at the first sign of danger, they will stampede. The lion charges at the herd, its back driving the legs. It moves a little faster than the zebra and heads straight through the herd to cut out the first zebra that crosses its path. Game animals come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and so do their legs. There's no mistaking the giraffe's legs. I'm sure the first explorers to encounter one of these creatures couldn't believe their eyes. They called them at first camel leopards because they had the shape of an elongated camel and the markings of a leopard. Its legs are so long that even with a neck that length, it still has to splay out in order to drink. A group of running giraffes is a strange but magnificent sight. They sort of hiccup along. They have to lift their front pair of legs with the inertia of the neck in order to stride forward. They can move surprisingly quickly for such a large animal, and even if a man could catch up with one, it would have to get past those long kicking legs. Adult giraffes have very few natural enemies. As I said at the beginning of the show, this is a spider monkey. But what makes this one special is that he's only 4 months old. That's why he's clinging to this piece of cloth so tightly, like he might cling to his mom in the wild. Now, like all monkeys, he belongs to the order of primates, the group that includes the monkeys and gorillas and orangutans, and of course ourselves. But what we want to look at are its hands and its feet. If you take a look at its hands, you notice he doesn't have any thumbs, but he has very long fingers. Hands that are perfectly built for gripping the branches of trees and swinging, but also for grasping food and manipulating it. But if you take a look at his feet, you'll notice that he does have a big thumb. And that's even better for hanging on as he's climbing. And you'll notice something else, too, about spider monkeys. They have a long, grasping, or prehensile tail that they can hold on with and use that a little like a fifth hand or foot. In fact, with their long limbs and long tail, that's where they get the title spider monkey, because as they walk along through the trees, they might look just a little bit like a spider. Now, primates have the most highly advanced hands and feet of all animals. But now we're going to the island of Borneo to meet the old man of the forest, the orangutan. Although he lacks the tail of a spider monkey, the orang is just as adept in the trees. The orang's hands have long fingers and a powerful grip. Its foot is just like a hand, and its big toe acts in the same way as a thumb, allowing the orang to pick up objects with both its hands and its feet. It really has 4 hands rather than having 2 hands and 2 feet. Its arms are longer than its legs, and they're also much stronger. And clearly the arms are the main limbs when it comes to getting around the trees in its native Borneo and Indonesia. The orang is now a threatened species because the forests on which it depends are being cut down for clearance and for timber. And without the trees, the orangs cannot survive. But But now for a totally different kind of animal. The octopus doesn't fit in with the scheme of things at all with the rest of the animals we've seen today. It's an invertebrate. It belongs to a group of animals called the cephalopods, and it's much more primitive than the fish we started with. But it really does have remarkable legs. They're completely devoid of any skeleton, and so they can be stretched or contracted. They can reach out and wrap around objects and hold on very tightly with those suckers. Each leg is incredibly versatile and flexible, and the octopus has 8 of them. It's hard to imagine how they can keep track of what each is doing at any one time. They move by crawling with their legs across the seabed, or more quickly, by squirting water very rapidly out of their siphon. So here we have an animal that has 8 legs, yet its best means of moving around is jet propulsion. I'm always impressed with the remarkable variety that exists in the animal world. Of course, it's true that different animals have similar anatomies, and that this little bone in my finger is probably found in hundreds of other species. But what fascinates me is that it will look completely different from one animal to the next, and may even serve a completely different function, depending on the particular animal in question. For instance, this little spider monkey, whose hands are somewhat like ours, will use his for climbing in a tree, while we'll use ours for picking up a pencil and writing a story. Thanks for being with us, and I hope to see you again next time for another look at Animals in Action.
Coming up next, top wildlife photographers are gathered together to show you the other creatures of this earth in Animals in Action.
That sounds great! And now...
Hello, I'm Thane Maynard, and welcome to Animals in Action. Today, Keith Shackleton and I will be looking at a very basic kind of animal, the animal that hunts. And here's a magnificent hunter. His name is Laser, and he's a lanner falcon from Africa. They're really beautiful, don't you think so, Keith?
They really are. They're great subjects to draw. The line is so clean and functional. Of course, it's all part of the hunting technique. They're like jet airplanes.
That's right. Hunters need to have sharp eyes and speed and a killer instinct. So let's start with one of the best, a cheetah. The fastest thing on 4 legs, the cheetah is probably the most dramatic hunter of all. Built on the lines of a greyhound, it's a record breaker, being the fastest running animal. It can reach speeds of up to 60 miles an hour. The cheetah is a sprint hunter. In other words, it's only able to achieve great speeds over a relatively short distance, perhaps half a mile at the most. Cheetahs floor their quarry by tripping them up with a swipe of the forepaw, and then they pounce on them before they have a chance to get up. This female has a group of cubs to feed, and they wait in the sidelines, watching and learning the technique but are quick to join her at the end of a successful hunt. Lions are perhaps the most familiar of the large carnivores. They live in family groups called prides, and they hunt by cooperation, working as an effective team. The females do most of the hunting, but when the prey has been brought down, all the members of the pride converge to lend a tooth or paw. The big cats are by no means successful on every hunt. Actually, more often than not, a hunt ends in total failure. But a lone buffalo with her newborn calf looks like an easy target. The female fights valiantly to keep the lions at bay. She does everything in her power, but she can't be everywhere at once. The lions play for time and keep a respectful distance for the moment. The cow will show them no mercy if she catches up with them, but they can rely on the fact that she will soon tire. The predators and the odds are stacking up against this brave mother. Some hyenas have moved in on the scene just to make things worse, and the herd is hopelessly far away. The cow charges frantically from one lion to another, but when a big male lion arrives, things look desperate. Just as the lions close in for the kill, the herd begins to respond to the commotion, and the young mother never gives up. Reinforcements are on the way, and for the first time, there is a little hope. The calf is still on its feet, but both males of the lion pride are here now. The second male has a badly injured hip, and 3 legs are barely enough to carry him to safety. The tables seem to be turning, and the lion's luck appears to have run out. But they are all lean and hungry and reluctant to leave the buffaloes in peace. The injured male is badly out of condition, probably desperate for food and convinced that the calf is his one good chance of a meal. Hunger drives him to some remarkable behavior. His foolhardiness seems unstoppable, and in the scene which follows, he's lucky to escape with his life. Amidst the confusion, the male misses being gored, but only by pure luck. Let's see the attack again in slow motion. Watch that left sideways hook go in. It's a miracle that horn doesn't pierce his side. It's also a miracle that the calf is still in one piece. In general, buffaloes stick together, and their enemies generally face a united front. Predators like lions have little impact on their breeding success. Things can go seriously wrong for other hunters, too. Wild pigs are high on any leopard's lists of delicacies, particularly when it comes to succulent young piglets. Unaware of the dangers, the piglets play beside their sleeping mothers. This leopard means business and confidently moves in for a kill. An angry female pig is a formidable adversary, even for a full-grown leopard, and these mothers have absolutely no intention of losing any of their young. This was not the leopard's lucky day. Like the wounded lion, it was probably hunger which caused him to seriously misjudge this situation. While the angry and disgruntled sows lead their piglets back to the water's edge, we can see just how serious a mistake the leopard made. When the leopard leaps up in the air, you can see his tail is badly bent. It's doubtful this leopard will ever straighten its broken tail again, but it was extremely lucky to escape so lightly after receiving the full force of about 600 pounds of furious pig. Here's one predator which rarely makes a mistake. It's an African hunting dog. They hunt together as a well-organized pack. Hunting parties set off at daybreak. When they see the herds, the dogs walk slowly forwards at first. They don't break into a trot until they see the antelope start to run. At the beginning of the hunt, the dogs single out one particular animal, usually an old or sick individual, which they judge will be easier to catch. They concentrate solely on that animal and are relentless in their pursuit. They can't run fast enough to catch a healthy wildebeest, so they tire their quarry by means of a long chase. Eventually, the prey tires and the dogs pull it down and quickly kill it. Hunting dogs may seem ruthless, but they have a very important role to play in weeding out the weak, sick, and old animals. By making sure that only the fittest survive, they keep the herd strong and healthy. Eagles are among the super hunters of the bird world. They soar on wings often spanning 7 feet, watching for movement on the ground below. It swoops down to attack its quarry, extending its sharp hooked talons at the last minute to clutch its victim. This time the eagle missed. It could have been this jackrabbit's lucky day, but it circles back within the eagle's reach and to its doom. Birds of prey like the eagle aren't the only hunters of the feathered kind. Many other species catch their own prey, but in a less spectacular fashion. Blackbirds and thrushes like this one hunt for worms on the lawn. Thrushes hunt by sight, cocking their heads to one side to look directly at the ground, and not, as many people think, to listen. Any sign of a worm, and the thrush is on the hunt. In keeping with its looks, the marabou stork normally has a sort of unattractive way of feeding. It scavenges alongside vultures on rotting carcasses. But this one has discovered that doves coming to drink at a waterhole are easy game. The stork spends all day stalking the unfortunate doves. It's a talent rare among storks, if not unique. It appears to have developed this special technique all on its own. We're back here with Laser, the Lanner falcon. And if you wonder where he got his name, it's very appropriate because falcons are the fastest flying birds in the world. You know, but like all birds of prey, they're hunting birds, and they have special adaptations for hunting. They have a sharp beak that they'll use to pull apart their prey, and keen eyesight with binocular vision right on the front of their head, and very, very keen eyes, better than our own. And also, they have sharp talons on their feet that they use for grasping their prey. But all birds of prey have those kinds of adaptations. Falcons have some others because they are built for speed, and that's how they catch their prey. Believe it or not, he even has nostrils that are specialized for the way he hunts. Most birds have an open nostril so the air flows right in. But you can see, a falcon actually has a fluted nostril which will slow down the air as he's in his dive, because a lanner can dive at nearly 100 miles an hour. In addition, they have specialized wings. Many hawks have broad wings because they'll fly through trees and the brush chasing their prey. But falcons will dive from on high in an open area and try to catch theirs. Let me show you his wings real quickly. I say real quickly because he doesn't keep them open long, but they're very pointed for high maneuverability and very fast speed. Now, typically, a lanner falcon's favorite diet is birds, which he'll catch on the wing and then land in order to eat. But he'll also eat a lot of locusts because they come from the part of the world where he's from. So here is a hunter that is literally built for a life on the wing. Of all hunters, snakes are probably the most feared. This is a king snake from western North America. Snakes use their tongue to detect their prey, flicking it in and out to taste the air. This one is hunting for lizards. Their scent is on the breeze, and it approaches cautiously. As the snake gets within range, it relies on its glassy eyes for an accurate strike. Non-venomous snakes, like the king snake, kill their victims by constriction, quite literally by squeezing the living daylights out of them. The viper belongs to the other group, the venomous snakes. Snakes have no eardrums, and they don't hear ordinary sounds very well. But they are sensitive to vibrations and can feel the movements made by their prey. If the young rat moves, the snake will feel its presence. It can also smell it as well. The rat is young and inexperienced, and it can't decide whether to run or hide. But the snake is a skillful, steady, and stealthy hunter, and it waits patiently for the opportunity to attack. Unfortunately for the rat, it bumbles right in front of its enemy's nose, and the snake is quick to strike. Poisonous snakes use venom to paralyze their prey before swallowing them whole. As a hunter, the chameleon has several special modifications. Firstly, it's able to change its color to match its background, so it blends with its surroundings and lets its prey approach within reach. Its hunting skills center around its incredible eyes, which are set on turrets and can swivel around independently of each other. Once it has spotted an insect, it waits for it to come within range. But its most famous asset is its tongue. It can be extended to a length greater than the animal's body and head. It can shoot out its tongue in 1/16 of a second. By freezing the film, we can catch the action. Fat, juicy caterpillars are on the menu of a great many hunters. Like the chameleon, they are cryptically camouflaged green to blend in with their leafy background. But as with the rat, it's the movement which gives its position away. A young bullfrog has the caterpillar in its sights and moves in for a feast. Well, as you can clearly see by now, hunters come in every size and shape and include a lot of different kinds of animals. But Keith, if you were asked to single out one animal as the greatest of all hunters, you think you could do it?
I don't think I could, Thane. After all, every hunter is as good and no better than it has to be. If it wasn't, it wouldn't succeed. But if you force me into a corner, Thane, I could dream up an animal, the fiercest, and I think it would look like this. It would start at the nose. It would have to have a very effective nose. to smell out its living prey. And it'd have whiskers on it to feel the writhing movements of its prey. And its mouth, well, it'd have these fierce white teeth in it and poisonous saliva. And that would stun the prey while the teeth tore it to pieces. Eye, well, fairly effective, but it needn't be all that big. But a fearsome eye. And then we'll go a bit further. Ears. Yeah, what about ears? Good for hearing movements homing in on its food. And feet. Got to have strong feet. It's got to be an athletic little animal, this, because it's forever perfecting its hunting techniques and exercising. Claws, strong claws to hold the prey down while it overpowers it. And then strong hind legs with more claws and a tail. And there's the fearsome hunter.
And you know what it is? It's a shrew. And it's one of the smallest mammals on Earth. It's one of the insectivora. And what does it tear down and destroy? Insects and worms. But by golly, it does it at a great rate, because this little animal is what they call hyperactive. It lives so fast, it's got such a metabolism, 1,200 heartbeats to the minute. Think of that. So it has to eat 4 times its weight to survive.
Well, like I said, hunters come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. There are many kinds of spider and as many different types of trapping techniques. This species is known only by its scientific name, Zygiella. It spins a delicate, beautiful, and very effective trap. Zygiella does not lie in wait out in the middle of her web. Instead, she has a line attached from the web to where she sits concealed on a plant nearby. She keeps one foot touching her line like a fisherman waiting for a bite. As soon as an insect lands on the web, she'll feel the vibrations and rush down onto the web to catch her prey. She bites her victim, a mosquito, injecting venom to paralyze it and stop it struggling and tearing the web. As soon as the insect lies still, Zygiella starts to package it into a bundle, slowly wrapping it with strands of silk so that it's totally helpless. Her load is an awkward and heavy one, and she stops to spin a few more loops to secure her bundle. She makes her way slowly, carrying her load up into her lair. Here in privacy and out of sight, she'll then suck all the juices from her luckless victim. Here a crane fly is helplessly entangled in a very different kind of web, and no amount of frantic wing beats will free it. Most spiders are solitary, and the general rule is that each spider builds its own web. But in Africa, there's one species which lives and works communally. The colony builds strange and unusual webs of many interlocking threads. The silken threads are fluffy, and insects like the crane fly quickly become entangled. The spider, called Stegodyphus, is small. The first to arrive on the scene can't do much to overpower the crane fly, but reinforcements soon arrive, and the community of hunters claims another victim. Not all spiders make webs. Some rely on camouflage and stealth. For instance, there's a spider called Tomysis on this flower. Can you spot it? It relies on camouflage and simply waits for its prey to walk into its arms. It belongs to a group of spiders called crab spiders, so called because of their 2 long front legs. These make capturing an unsuspecting victim like a fly relatively easy. Here's another hunter which uses the strike and grab technique. The praying mantis gets its name from its praying posture. But this mantis is definitely not praying, it's waiting for some prey. It uses its large eyes to line up the victim, Then, quick as a flash, the prey is clasped firmly between the hinged and barbed forelimbs. Of all the hunters in the ocean, sharks are the most efficient and fearsome. Just mention the word shark, and people think of a menacing fish with their fin cutting through the water, destroying everything in its path. But there are over 200 species of sharks, and some are dangerous, but they aren't all man-eaters. Some are even gentle filter feeders. But Keith, that's not true of the great white shark, is it?
It certainly isn't, Thane. I've had experience of some of those characters. They say of sharks that they come in two categories. You get sharks, and you get great whites, and that's very true, because this is a fearsome, voracious creature. It's the largest flesh-eating fish in the ocean. In the normal way of things, great whites would be eating seals and dolphins, big fish, squid. And whatever you may have seen in the movies, don't ever think that even great whites go around eating nothing but swimmers.
In freshwater rivers and lakes, the pike is one of the most voracious resident hunters. This young pike has just caught a worm. The pike's jaws are equipped with rows of sharp backward slanting teeth, which help the fish keep a firm grip on their slithery prey. As adults, pike lurk in the shadows, waiting for a meal to swim by. They can be a total pest, depleting rivers and reservoirs of their stocks of trout. They also take baby water birds, grabbing them by their feet from underneath. These unsavory characters will resort to cannibalism sometimes, even devouring their own young. In the warm waters of this tropical river, there lives a deadly accurate archer that actually shoots down its prey. The ammunition is water droplets, and the target is a swinging caterpillar. The marksman, an archer fish, shoots drops of water at its victims, using a groove in the upper part of its mouth as a gun barrel. Gulping in a large mouthful of water, it uses pressure from its gills to blast the water droplets upwards like a stream of bullets. An insect shot down stands little chance of survival. Large insects occasionally require bombardment. These remarkable fish can pinpoint a small fly, allow for refraction, and aim with amazing accuracy, a skill unique to the archer fish. When insects are within reach, shooting just isn't worth the effort. And finally, the perfect kill. These funny little fish live on the tide line along tropical beaches. They're mud skippers. They lie in the mud, propping themselves up and moving themselves around on their forefins. Their prey lies hidden in the mud, and from their elevated position, they keep a sharp eye out for movement. Here they are after crabs. As their eyes are set high on their heads, they're in a good position to scan the mud flats. As soon as a crab emerges or peeps out of its hole in the mud, the skippers hop over and snatch them up. Their mouths, positioned on the underside of their heads, make seizing a crab on the flat expanse of mud much easier. William Faulkner once said, "The world belongs to the meat eaters." And whether that's true or not, the hunters of the world have developed some highly tuned and often spectacular hunting techniques. But it's worth remembering that these magnificent-looking killers don't always get just what they want. Very often their prey escapes and the hunter goes hungry. That's one reason there are so few hunters. Thanks for being with us, and I hope you'll join us again next time for more Animals in Action.
next, top wildlife photographers are gathered together to show you the other inhabitants of this earth in Animals in Action. And at 11, it's more family fun with the Nelsons and the Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Then at 11:30, James Mason, Peter Lorre, and Kirk Douglas star in Disney's classic 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. It's all coming up tonight on the Disney Channel.
Thanks, Jerry.
You're welcome, Mickey.
Hello, I'm Thane Maynard, and welcome to Animals in Action. Today, Keith Shackleton and I will be looking at one of the simplest, most ordinary, and most important aspects of animal life: how animals stay clean. Keith, did your mother ever have to tell you to wash your face or brush your teeth or anything like that?
Yes, she did, Thane, all the time. And my wife took on where Mum left off.
I know what you mean. You know, humans do spend a lot of time trying to keep clean. We take baths and showers and brush our hair and try to keep ourselves neat and tidy. We think we look better when we're clean, but we also feel better. We're far less likely to catch contagious diseases, for example. But believe it or not, animals know this too. Fish, birds, mammals, all sorts of animals spend a lot of time keeping clean. An elephant's skin is about 2 inches thick, and surprisingly, it's very sensitive. It forms into large folds toward the hind end of the body, where the skin is the thickest. These deep folds of skin provide wonderful homes for elephant lice. Often an elephant can shake them off, but a good soak is best. The whole body of an elephant is covered in sweat glands, even the top of the toenails. But this isn't enough to keep an elephant cool during the heat of the day. A cool bath is the answer. The skin actually needs a daily wallow to stay in good condition. So elephants spend a lot of time every day squirting water over themselves from their trunks. Drinking and wallowing is so important to an elephant that during drought conditions it will actually dig water holes with its tusks. This bath isn't a luxury for an elephant, it's a necessity. But that doesn't stop an elephant from really enjoying it. During the hot summer months, elephants often go in search of a good dust wallow after their bath in the water. All of the elephant's huge weight is supported by soft pads on the feet as they walk. Once the spot is chosen, they begin to spray fine dust over themselves using their trunks. This helps to protect their skin from biting flies, and it also provides a shield from the sun. The earth changes color from area to area throughout Africa, sometimes brick red, here rather gray. So experts can tell what region an elephant comes from the color of the dust on its back. This is also a time when elephants can relax and the younger calves play together. Soon they will move off in search of food. Now here's another group of thick-skinned animals, hippos. If you thought an elephant's skin was tough, a hippo's is even tougher. It's said that it takes 6 years to tan a hippo's hide. Hippos spend even more time lying around in water or mud. Their nostrils, eyes, and ears lie along the top of their head, so that the hippo can lie with almost all of its body submerged and still see what's going on. They need to cover themselves in mud during the heat of the day to keep cool, and also to prevent sunburn. The mud bath keeps the hippo's skin in good condition, too. Hippos produce a red, oily substance from glands all over their skin, and this coats it in a thick, gleaming layer, making the hippo look like a shining, wet saddle. Hippos are very gregarious and will always bathe huddled close together. This inevitably leads to lots of pushing and shoving in the communal bath. If a hippo submerges its head below the surface, it closes its nostrils. In fact, they often walk floating over the river bottom like large, round horses. You can be sure that if the hippo isn't feeding, it will probably be found in the river having a good wallow. Now here's another thick-skinned animal coming down for a good back-scratching roll in the mud. A 9-banded armadillo. In fact, that armor isn't skin at all, but bands of bony plates separated from each other by soft skin covered by a few hairs. These gaps also provide a hiding place for irritating parasites. The only way to get rid of them is to have a good roll in the mud. But some animals don't go to all the trouble of cleaning their skin. They just shed the old one and grow a new one instead. This palmetto gecko is in the last stages of this process. Finally, it eats the skin. In these desert conditions, the food value of old skin is far too good to waste. Like any parent, this ground squirrel is determined that its offspring should be well groomed, even if its youngster has other ideas. Ground squirrels live in the western desert regions where there's very little shade or protection from the sun. They're very sociable animals, sharing burrows together and emerging to feed on plants during the heat of the day. Ground squirrels rely on their tails as sunshades, spreading them over their heads and erecting each hair. The body hair insulates them against the heat, so it's very important that each hair should be in good condition. Grooming like this also strengthens the bonds between the members of the group. A lot of grooming goes on in a pride of lions. Grooming and licking the fur doesn't only keep it clean, it also forms an important bond between a mother and her cubs. A lioness's tongue is so strong that she can knock a cub off its feet while licking it. This lioness uses her lower jaw as a base to press her rough sandpaper tongue hard against her chest as she licks, so that she can penetrate right down to the roots. Lions sometimes groom the head or neck of another lion if the hair has been dirtied by blood from eating. They also lick each other dry after a heavy downpour. Males hardly ever lick females. If a lioness has been away for a long time, she licks every member of the pride in greeting. This mutual grooming is even more important within primate societies, such as these baboons. Look at the ecstasy on the face of the baboon that's being groomed. A great deal of skill and patience is needed to pick the nits from within the thick fur. The long fur is spread apart, and a careful search is made among the roots. But apart from removing irritating parasites, grooming among baboons also serves to hold the troop together. And of course, mothers spend a great deal of time grooming their young so that a close link is formed from the first day of birth. Often a female baboon will groom a dominant male, but a dominant baboon hardly ever grooms one below it. So grooming not only strengthens the ties within the troop, but also reinforces the existing social structure. The bison of the North American plains spend most of their time on the move, looking for fresh grass, and like the elephants, they are often bothered by flies and other parasites on their thick hair. Bulls often use the same scratching places time after time. They lie down and rub themselves round and round, eventually creating a hollow where the younger calves and females can roll. Now a calf takes advantage of the dust bowl and has a good roll. Sometimes bulls roll or rub themselves against trees just to get rid of pent-up aggression during the season when they're fighting among themselves for possession of the females. Beaver's fur is specially adapted for immersion in cold water, and it's vital to keep it clean and in good condition. Beavers spend a great deal of time looking after their coats. In fact, every time a beaver emerges from the water after a dive, it'll carefully comb its hair through with its claws, even if it's only a matter of minutes before it plops back into the water again. The beaver's 5 claws are split like combs for grooming, and the beaver also spreads a waterproof oil over his fur. The coat itself is of a special structure, similar to other water animals such as shrews, seals, and otters. First, there's a dense layer of close underfur, and this is covered by a heavy outer coat of stiff guard hairs. When the coat is well oiled, it acts as a waterproofing layer and also keeps a layer of air trapped around the body. This acts as a perfect insulation against the cold. This California sea otter was once almost hunted to the brink of extinction for its valuable fur. The sea otter has a wonderful coat of dense, glossy hair, and it was once considered the most valuable of all furs. Luckily for the sea otter, a law protecting it was passed, but the population is still taking a long time to recover. It spends all its time in the sea, especially in the kelp beds along the Pacific coast. It often wraps a strand of seaweed around its body to hold it fast when it floats happily on its back, rather like an airbed. Unlike all other marine mammals, the sea otter has no insulating layer of fat or blubber to keep it warm. Instead, it relies entirely upon its fur. If the fur is damaged or polluted in any way, the otter could die from heat loss. So grooming isn't a luxury for the sea otter, it's a necessity. And speaking of insulation, this might be a good time to talk about birds and their feathers. You know, they're an important form of insulation, among other things. Feathers are an adaptation of scales, and they're unique to birds. It's worth taking a look at them in detail. Keith, can you explain how a feather actually works?
I think so. I've got a good feather here. This feather fell out of a heron. But it's standard feather. There's the central shaft up here and the barbs going off
either side. Now, if we consider a little area like that and blow it up with enormous magnification, it's going to look something like this. There's the sensor shaft going up, and off it come these barbs. That's enough barbs. Now, off the barbs come barbules. They're little filaments that run across like that. And the same thing happens from here, so that you end up with a sort of lattice effect. But that's not all. Where they cross over, these barbules have got little hooks so that they can hold quite fast onto the ones where the point where they cross over. And of course this goes on up throughout the whole feather.
Well, you can see what that means. It means that the feather can be quite easily sorted out by the bird and preened into place. If you think of a bat's wing, which is a skin, a membrane, or the chitinous wing of an insect, if that gets damaged, it stays damaged. With a feather, it can be straightened up. Even a feather that's had its main shaft broken will molt out, and the bird will get a whole new feather at the next molt.
You know, those barbs and barbules work a lot like the teeth of a zipper, and a bird can actually zip them back together. I'll show you how it works. I've got a big flight feather here, and if I ruffle up all these barbs, it looks like quite a mess. But all the bird does when it's preening is actually straighten those up with its beak, and after a few seconds, the feather's as good as new. You know, it's an ingenious device, and now let's see it in action. Birds carry as many as 20,000 feathers, so it's not surprising that if each feather is to receive attention, the bird must spend a lot of time preening. Pelicans bathe while floating. They often duck beneath the surface and beat their wings against their flanks so that the upper wing surfaces are splashed. All aquatic birds have to keep their feathers waterproof. They frequently spread oil on their feathers from a special preen gland just in front of their tail. Most ducks' feathers are wonderfully waterproofed. The water seems to run off them without getting them wet at all. If you look closely, you can see how the duck rolls its head back and rubs its bill and head feathers in the preen gland, and then spreads it over all its other feathers. It's been shown that when the oil gland secretion is placed in sunlight, it produces vitamin D. When this occurs on a bird's plumage, it ingests it with its bill while preening. Birds which aren't waterfowl regularly come down for a good wash in a puddle or bird bath. This peregrine falcon has found a wonderful spot. It's important to wash surface mud and dirt off the feathers, but also the plumage makes a warm home for parasites like fleas and lice. It's important for the bird to try to remove them. The peregrine ruffles its feathers to allow the water to penetrate the plumage, but then it has to shake like crazy to help dry itself off. This kestrel tips its body forward and immerses the breast feathers while thrashing the bill to and fro and flicking the wings up and down. Then it dips its tail into the water and scissors the wings over the back so that the water showers over the plumage. Chicken-like birds, such as partridges and pheasants, show a tendency to bathe not in water, but in the dust. These partridge chicks are rolling in the fine, dry dust as though it were water. And in fact, dust behaves almost like a liquid. It even penetrates deeper than water can. The abrasive dust forces parasites and dirt out from the roots of the feathers. The birds fluff up their feathers to give the spray of dust a chance to reach right into the down layer, sifting it through their plumage. They scratch little bowls with their feet and then nestle down into them, working the dust in. But if dust seems a strange way to keep clean, this behavior called anting must be the strangest of all. This crow has disturbed an ant's nest on purpose. Instead of flying away, it's really encouraging the furious ants to run all over it, biting as they go. It even picks them out with its beak and carefully places them on its feathers. It spreads its wings so that the ants can crawl up the ladder they form. Why does it do this? Can it be enjoying it? Well, the reason is probably the fact that the ants spray formic acid, which kills off all the ticks and mites. Sometimes so much formic acid may be squirted that the plumage glistens with it.
When you see birds preening, it's not always just to put their feathers straight. There's sometimes a deeper significance to it. You'll see a similar kind of thing happening with troops of baboons, with a pride of lions, and with lots of birds that breed in big communities like terns and penguins, gannets, all that kind of thing. And it's called allopreening. They're preening one another, mutual grooming, and it's a pair bond. Now, the most attractive thing I know is the sight of an albatross doing it. Here's an albatross. This would probably be the female sitting on her egg. And in comes the mate from the ocean. They're great big bills. And he'll begin by taking a little gentle peck at her like that. Maybe just the base of her bill on her brow. There he is. He's been at sea for a long time, this chap. He's very glad to see her. And at the same time, she will begin to groom him, the top part of his neck where he can't reach. And this will go on sometimes for, 5 or 10 minutes. It's the most lovely thing to watch because it's so affectionate, it's so loving. They just pull the feathers through their bills and tweak them out like that, and you could tell by the expression how much they're enjoying this. But the importance of it is not just that they are each reaching places that the other can't reach on its own. It's establishing a pair bond. It's making sure that they know they belong to each other. And in a lot of these birds that go in for allopreening, they belong to each other for life.
Some birds groom animals of an entirely different species. They literally provide a cleaning service. Birds like oxpeckers and cattle egrets actually depend on large herds of hoofed animals for their livelihood, provided these animals have parasites. Oxpeckers remove biting fleas and ticks from a rhino's skin and eat them themselves. Cattle egrets accompany the herd and devour the parasites and other creatures which are flushed from the grass by the browsing herd. Oxpeckers inspect every inch of a rhino's hide, detecting the parasites by touch. They can move about on an animal's back even if it is going at full gallop, because they grip on with sharp claws and use their stiff tail for support. This tame oxpecker is using exactly the same technique to remove bits of debris from between the teeth of a man. It's much more thorough than a toothpick, though it does look a little more painful. The role of professional cleaner isn't only the province of birds. It also plays a very important part in the life of the oceans. Large fish such as rays, sharks, and groupers living around the tropical coral reefs are subject to all sorts of parasites, and it's almost impossible for a fish to clean itself. This is where the professional cleaner fish comes in. The long fish attached to the ray's underside aren't cleaners but remoras, fish which hitch a lift by clinging on with an oval sucker. Most cleaner fish are smaller and belong to the wrasse family. They are experts at removing the external parasites from other fishes. They are all brightly colored in a pattern which is easy to recognize. This one has a blue stripe down its middle. It's almost like an advertisement. The cleaners maintain regular cleaning stations, and any large fish wanting to be cleaned approaches and adopts a posture which is an invitation to the cleaners to start work. They swarm in and out of the mouth, and even through the gill slits where they remove crustaceans. They eat dead pieces of skin from wounds, and even clean the wounds out. But all is not so simple. There's another fish, a blenny, called the false cleaner fish, which looks almost exactly like the real cleaner fish, with a blue stripe down the middle. It approaches the trusting customer, but instead of removing parasites, it rips off bits of flesh. So keeping clean in the oceans can have its dangers. Ironically, even the housefly, that symbol of dirt, spends a lot of time washing. It rubs its front pair of legs together and wipes them over its compound eyes and over its abdomen and wings. The back legs possess comb-like hairs to remove dirt. But flies spend a lot of time crawling over refuse or rotting food. So however much a fly washes, it still is estimated that each one is infested by 3 million bacteria. So there's no doubt that some animals do a better job of washing than others. Certain aspects of animal survival seem obvious. For instance, the fact that every animal is occupied with the need to find food is easy to understand. And the same goes for defense and reproduction. The needs for such things is self-evident. But it comes as a surprise to a lot of people that animals are just as concerned with good hygiene and cleanliness as they are with food and shelter. Right, Keith?
That's right. They're good at doing what comes naturally.
Thanks for being with us. I hope you'll join us again next time for another look at Animals in Action.